For the past 2 years, we have been focusing on social and emotional learning and really interviewing our male educators of color to see where do we want to take PG. So we celebrated year 5 in that 2-year period. We were going into year 7, and we wanted to hone in on what is Profound Gentlemen. What are we going to be known for? What are we going to do? And what we ended up finding out within our organization through interviews as well as within our strategic plan that we did with SHRMCO is that our male educators of color want to have us focus on that mindfulness and mindset piece. So we went on a quest over the past 2 years to really think about what does social and emotional learning look like for male educators of color. And what we found out was that there was no true curriculum for males of color and boys of color in general to really help. We just wanted a partner. We just wanted to find an organization or a document or a booklet that already had it, and we was gonna implement it within our organization. But we found out it wasn't there. So we started to create our own. And that's the amazing work that our staff members have been doing for these past 2 years, and we're ready to implement that.
What up? MTV Cribs, welcome to my crib.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I love how all of y'all were 3 different PG.
How you doing?
I love how y'all were 3 different PG outfits. You know, when we come together, it's a love affair. It's a family reunion. So everybody is hugging and everything. You know, we got tested. You know, people already started getting their COVID vaccines and stuff. So it feels so good for us to embrace each other after a year and a half of not ever being able to see each other. When we do come together, you know, we have the tests, we have the vaccinations, but we keep everybody in a bubble. So that means we can't go anywhere. So we bring the food to us. And so we thought about what does it look like for us to have food that mirrors our experience. And so Chef Anthony and Chef Calvin, they do a great job of really taking care of the body for us. And I always tell them that, it's not about just preparing food for us. It's actually about how do you get inspired? How do you bring your own type of influence into the food and creating healthy food options for us so that we're able to fully show up for our work?
All right, right here we have Trini fish, so it's basically a Trini green sauce. We're marinating halibut and salmon in it. We got some curry vegetables over there on the stove. Every day this week, we're gonna try to pick a different region and kind of focus in on that region, all tied into, regions with African heritage and things like that. So we're gonna try to bring all that out this week. Where we going? We going to Puerto Rico tomorrow? All right, tomorrow will be Puerto Rico. Today is Trinidad. We haven't really decided on the 3rd day yet, but we're gonna work on that. So at first we were doing written menus, prefix, and then Mario kind of came to me. He was just kind of do things that reflect your current mood, do things that are tied into what we do, what they do at Profound Gentlemen. So we try to focus on Africa, but the heritage more than just the region of Africa. We kind of try to do Trinidad, Puerto Rico, any country that has African descendants. We try to focus in on those different foods. And we're gonna split the plates up 5 and 5.
5 and 5.
Yeah, I'll give you 5 to plate, and I'll do 5 to plate. We can do them whatever way you want to do them.
You want me to put these mushrooms in this pan? Really what we're doing right now with PG is we're saying let's go towards this because this is our pocket. This is what we're good at. But this is not what's necessarily popular with all of the rest of the male of color education-based organizations. But we're saying it let's do it and we're gonna be successful and we have to believe in it, right? But as you're going through those changes, you have those growing pains. So there's a lot of doubt, you know what I mean, that I have. But this is the first time that I am learning with you guys, figuring out with you all, and let's just do it, So that's what I'm enjoying about this process, is that we're about to change up a whole entire organization to be just stronger, bolder, and what we already know to be true. I think after 2020, you're not able to be the same. And you have a lot of transitions that happen in your life. One of the things for me, as far as a transition, was obviously you see me in a documentary without a beard, and now I done gained a little strong beard now game. And so, it's interesting because even physically too, I didn't have these tattoos. Now I got these tattoos and stuff. One of the most important tattoos for me was the PG heart. Although I love the PG apple, the PG heart to me was the most significant thing, because to me that was my personal transition. That's when SEL to me came to life, is when I started, in a sense, to wear my heart on my sleeve.
This year has definitely been a year of transitions. As we all know, man, coronavirus just kind of threw everybody for a loop, man. We didn't think it was gonna be what it was and what it turned out to be. So yeah, it's just been a little crazy, but I think with PG, I've had some transitions within PG, like I was speaking about earlier. When I came on, man, I was just helping around here and there, nothing too crazy. But then some things happened which allowed me to get promoted. So Mario came to me, he was like, hey, do you want to be full-time? And I'm like, what, bro?
Matthew came to us when we needed him the most. Matthew was able to bring a sense of structure and organization to the work that Courtney and I was doing that we were not able to provide to ourselves. I've known Matthew since he was 16 years old. So I know him for a long time. He was one of my students. And so to bring him back and to hire him, has been super, super dope to see him show up as himself, and to really find his niche in the organization for us to really be able to utilize him. He really is operations, and when you have strong ops, it brings you joy. It just brings you joy, and that's what Matthew does for us. We're gonna end here, at the end of this coalition retreat. We'll leave having a gentleman-facing SEL rubric. Basically, you guys probably saw it in the pre-work, but a self-evaluations thing. We have Castle's self-evaluation SEL rubric, but what we want to do is we want to revamp it to be a little bit more people of color. Add some flavor to it, put some seasoning salt on it, you know what I mean? So I need a little seasoning, you know what I mean? So now that I framed it, he giving out my piece of damn gum. Now that's gum that I paid for with my damn money, and then now you wanna. Part of the retreats part of whenever we do retreats is to provide rest for our impact leaders. We recognize that this is just their part-time job. And so when they come to our organization, we typically don't start until 9 o'clock in the morning to provide them the opportunity to enjoy their morning, to have conversations. I love when sometimes we wake up in the morning, they just drinking tea. I go and walk my dog. I mean, I love that. Oftentimes I'll go walk my dog and reflect on a day to get myself started. But everyone else, they just scattered all around the Airbnb and just thinking about their own personal experience and allowing what we talked about perhaps the day before to seep in so they could get prepared for day 2. So today is day 2 of the SEL Coalition coming together. And it's really, really going well, because I think that so many of us are really interested in SEL, from a personal level, as well as I would say from an organization. I don't believe in just having staff members to just work for just the benefit of the organization, but how does this help them as people and their own individual endeavors as well. I think I'm in a personal transition of my own life, my own experience. I'm shedding kind of what or who I used to be. Embracing a new version of myself, which I think is dope. I think it's fun, but this shit is hard though. It really is difficult. But to do it, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So it's a lot. It's a lot. I think like 2020 has taught us to just like constantly just go to the next level.
Man, PG it's really been like, this is hard work, you know. I feel like that's what PG really is rooted with. And what it means to me is, it's given me like that sense of like a village, you know, having people that I can connect with and, you know, build a bond with. PG's really been a godsend in certain moments, you know.
Family, it's not blood, you know, it's loyalty and what people really do for you, that people really care for you and just want to see you grow and support you in your dreams and your ambitions. So that's what family means to me. When I think about PG, PG is family, man. When I think about just Mario and himself, since I know him since I was, like I said, 15, 16, he's been that same person that's always cared. He pushes me hard, gets on my nerves sometimes, but man, I know it's all out of love, man, and Mario truly wants the best for me, man. This man has visions of me doing things that I don't even envision myself doing. Like, he just wants more for me than I want for myself.
Man, family is everything to me, it really is. Everybody's super tight-knit. We would do anything for each other, you know, if anybody asked. And you just feel like you're in a space where you can be your full self and you can just do things that maybe you haven't done in years, you know? Like, I think about some of the moments we have together, man. It's moments I have with some of my closest friends. Those are the kind of moments I have here with PG, you know? Yeah, these are my brothers. They are and they always will be.
PG has done a wonderful job of like creating that atmosphere where we're able to embrace each other in the different elements of our life, and that's what I've grown to appreciate so much. I feel like I've grown as an individual so much. They've pushed me in my personal life, pushed me to be a better leader, pushed me to be a better romantic partner, pushed me to continue to develop my worldview. I'm truly just appreciative of PG for that. Preparing to go into my third year, I'm so excited about the direction that we're going, especially honing in more on that SEL focus and just the opportunities to be exposed to more content, exposed to more concepts, and exposed to more opportunities that would definitely bleed into the work that we do with our gentlemen. It's invaluable.
One of the things I love about PG and the structure that we created is for people to get their independent type of development. Each one of our team members have a mid-year review and an end-year review. And so while at the SEL retreat, I had conducted Clay's end-of-year review. The more and more that I talk to y'all, definitely in particular your work, and our gentlemen even more boldly had talked about like the reason why they come to PG is because of the social emotional support that they get to continue to do this work.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So when I came to, and we had this conversation, when I came on this side of PG, I thought like the pictures were like
Fake.
fake as hell, right? And then you come into the organization on this side, and it's really like more support than you've ever seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that you said this has been a good year for me on the SEL level, because it goes back, in my opinion, to that quote of you can't be something that you can't see, right?
Yeah.
So although I think I've always done a pretty good job of it, I've been able to take something from Marcus and from Derek and you know, and really just grow as a person and as a leader. And I think one of the things that I learned from PG that goes back to even me having that conversation with you is everybody wants to support you when you do their work.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know
like
what I
when
mean?
you're just doing our work.
Yeah,
No.
but like you really give us a platform to learn and take it back to our individual and even groups that we're a part of to help be more successful or build our own brands or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I've never had that.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you back. So I'll send you your contract. You get that little raise too.
All right, cool. So we getting 50,000 a
No,
year?
you're not getting no damn 50,000. Hell nah. So a part of that transition is that we get to bring in a group of newer impact leaders. So we're looking at bringing in 9 impact leaders into our work. And this is really interesting because our process is a 3-part process, but we ask them to be their most authentic self.
The thing that we've been working on the most right now is this application process, man, for the new ILs. It's been a tough process just because the applications have been so great, man. These applicants are amazing people, and they have brought their A game.
So you're in Philadelphia.
Really? Yup.
Oh my God. So we were just in Philly 2 weeks ago, right? And it was like I literally could not stand the infrastructure of Philly. Like now I know what like President Joe Biden is talking about when he talks about infrastructure, because in Charlotte, we don't have bad infrastructure there. But like in Philly, it's like there's no mergers. Like you just go right into the traffic.
Yeah. It's bad. And I used to be a valet in Philly too. So I was one of those bad drivers that you probably came across. I was one of the ones that was like swerving without anything and just doing what I needed to do.
Big bottles, and then I brought some other bottles.
You messed up. You messed up the thing.
What thing? What up, people?
Have that level of emotional resilience. Like when we think about like our gentlemen, what do we want them to be? I would say like community leaders too, like emotional resilience, community leaders. What else would y'all like think about?
So while in grad school, I studied urban education, so we talked a lot about racial identity. We talked a lot about microaggressions and culturally relevant pedagogy and culturally sustaining pedagogy. And all of these, these buzzwords, but something that resonated with me is social emotional learning. So we were able to bring in everything that we've been doing for the past 7 years and really dive deep into that. And I was fortunate enough to, this little mouse was fortunate enough to share this vision with an organization that is breaking down so many barriers with this work around social emotional learning. It's holistic development.
Yeah. What is needed for our retreats to be hybrid virtual? Obviously, like the location, and I think like that's where we need to partner with Dom on like certain schools, because we can open up schools for retreats, right?
Okay.
Hybrid virtual, I think honestly the first thing that comes to my mind is the conversations I had this year with the educators I support. Hybrid virtual for them, had its fair share of challenges. You have your students that you see on Zoom, and then you got your students you see online. But now, thinking about PG, thinking about what hybrid virtual I believe is going to look like for us, is I think it's going to be a time for us to start feeling, that closeness, the closeness that we once had, that we still have, but it's a chance for us to kind of we're starting to rekindle things.
So in this 3-day experience, we're gonna tap into what our ancestors have done to be able to allow us to be here and for us to feel grateful, but also for us to recognize where we need to continue to go. The way that we're gonna do that is through storytelling. Storytelling is huge in our organization, and it's definitely a part of the social and emotional learning work. So we're going to the Legacy Museum, then we're going to the memorial, and then we're also gonna go to Uncle Nearest to reflect on how their story and connecting with their story and how it helped us to propel as males of color. And we're also going to visit my family street, like the street that my family lived on for many years before they moved to Cleveland, Ohio. This is amazing that we're here in Montgomery, about to head to the Legacy Museum, and I wanted us to really just take some time to really learn about everyone's family and where y'all family is from. So it's really cool that the Legacy Museum is here in Alabama. Also just knowing that Loudoun County is the place where #1 lynching, all that type of stuff. So they deal with a lot of turmoil here. I don't know, I just really kind of feel their legacy for me in the space. I feel like that energy here. I don't know, I just really was thinking about my grandparents today and how they kind of helped me to be where I'm at. Where are y'all families from? What does it mean for you? Because I want to know too, because when we go to the Legacy Museum as well as the memorial and we see that county or we see that city, it's just gonna hit different. Then I know that, dang, Darren's family was from that county and this many people were lynched, or this many people, had to deal with certain things. Yeah. One of the things that we learned about social emotional learning in our past 2 years of research is how important it is for our males of color to understand their past in order to know where we're going today. If we don't tap into our past and what our ancestors have done and all of the work that they did to be able to make sure we're here, we're never gonna be able to really hone in on SEL from a present and future perspective for males of color.
I don't think I processed how what this trip would be like before I came. I don't think I was ready to dive into the feelings that I'll be having while I was here. I know, Black history, I know slavery happened, I know slavery is bad. I've been to, museums and read books and stuff like that. So, you feel like you're prepared, and I feel like, all right, I know, I get it. But to come here and be in this space and to physically be in a space where, slaves were walking and being held captive and being sold, and here I am, freer than they were, much freer than they were, and I'm able to, go for a run by the river, go running up the street and around the block and up to the courthouse and stuff, just and appreciate my freedom in that, the freedom of my body that they didn't have. But it's still very heavy seeing just the numbers, all the names, all the souls that were lost. I think about what could have been with all those lives and where our community could be if, so many of those lives hadn't been lost.
I think what the memorial in itself is, breathtaking, if you will. And when I say breathtaking, because all of the treacherous lynchings and killings of Black people that happened, free Black people at that. I think the exact numbers were 38 states represented, over 800 different counties, and both of my family's counties, one from my father's side and my mother's side, Dooley County and Rockingham County were both represented on those pillars. And at one point, As you go throughout the pillars, first you're walking amongst them, and then you gradually start to walk under them. And at one point I sat there and I closed my eyes, and once I finally opened my eyes, I looked up, and all of these names, all of these different energies and the presence of these individuals who lost their lives were hovering over me. And I just wanted to sit there. I think what resonates with me most about this weekend is the piece about and hope. And what am I doing to restore hope in those who might have lost it?
Oh my goodness, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama. Like, it's funny, I think if you'd have asked me what were the 2 states you don't ever want to visit, Mississippi and Alabama would have been 1 and 2. But having been here for 2 days and having like really immersed myself in Montgomery and really just observed everything and just like taking everything in, I think Montgomery, Alabama is a place that every Black person should visit, hands down. And I've been both moved and inspired. I've found myself enraged, but hopeful. And this trip has re-energized me in knowing like what I have to do. Our history is our history. That's our story, right? And really, I think when you get to SEL, it's all about storytelling, and telling stories is something Mario talks about all the time, right? Is being able to tell your story, his story, right? And the connection with SEL is when you tell your story, when you learn your story and you really analyze your story and then you tell your story to other people, that in of itself is healing. And it's my responsibility to keep on doing that for my family, for my fiance, for my son, for my brothers, for my sisters. That's what Alabama has meant to me.
I think what's interesting about Montgomery, Alabama, for me, is the soil. And I'm a spiritual person, a Christian background, and we come out of the soil, to be birthed as humans. And my grandma and my granddad will always talk about the soil on the street that they lived in, because at the time it was a dirt road, it wasn't a paved road. And so it was important for me to go back to that place. And so odd that the Legacy Museum is in Montgomery, Alabama. The Memorial Museum is in Montgomery, Alabama, a place that my ancestors walked and helped me to become where I am today. So it's really heavy for us, and for me specifically, to be here and for us to learn about our past, and for us to walk on, and for me specifically to walk in that same soil, walk on that same street that my ancestors had walked on.
That stayed next door here, which was Miss Savannah Davis. She was about, I think she was about 96 before the Lord called her home, and she was just a hard-working lady. And the guy stayed well, the person that stayed here was my mom, which is her house, Miss Dolly Johnson, and I think she'd been here she was here for about 28 years. Other than that, that's about as much as I could tell you for the little history that I do know about it. But I know one thing, there's been a pretty quiet resident. And like I said, when I first moved here, I can just remember at that time somebody had, I bring this up in your documentary, somebody had a brand new Camaro, and they took it right down in that cut right there and set it on fire. But it ain't been a whole lot of, I thank God it ain't been like a bad area or nothing like that. Pretty good people or something.
In March of 2021, we partnered with Uncle Nearest for our conference, and it was a virtual conference. But one of the reasons why we partnered with Uncle Nearest for our conference was because of the story of Uncle Nearest. Storytelling is so important to our work. And so Uncle Nearest's story really did bring home that level of triumph. And so we had the opportunity not only to partner with them for our conference, but to actually visit them. They were just a couple of hours away from Montgomery. And so we called them up and told them we were coming down to be able to enjoy and hear Uncle Nearest's story and be on this land and on this soil that in a sense is ours, it's Black. It's dope. It's amazing. And we had the opportunity to appreciate that.
Is that the switch on the screen?
This is the thing with us. We have tons of kids.
Oh, the game you beat me in. Yo, you would say that, right? You would.
That's good. What more can you say that you've done? That's good.
I mean, what else happened? Love you later. So we never say bye. We always say love you later.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That should be good. Ain't no bye.
Yeah, ain't no bye around here.
Until maybe the closing. What? I had to scratch my damn thigh. What? It looked too wrong. Sorry.
I tried to ignore it.
This is happening when people are with me. So the team member that truly worked on social emotional learning and really bringing this all together, and a really, really brother friend of mine. Like, I like to be friends with my team members, and I really loved the bond and experience that we have together, is Courtney. Courtney has been working on this for the past 2 years undercover and really figuring out what the social emotional learning looks like within an organization, on top of at the time working with gentlemen, on top of at the time working with the universities and stuff, on top of at the time still dealing with like his personal life and all of those things, but he brought it together. So when he brought it to me and Wayne, we began to dive into it, really figure out what it looks like. Yeah, because all of it, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what's in my book bag. If you hear it in the thing, just let me know. Yeah, you're interrupting us. Going through my book bag. Security, all right, TSA, that's as good as the name today. That is so good though. And then, how is the Breathe for Change classes helping with, like, is it helping with your SES?
Bruh, literally, so one of my kids, they call me Yogi, because when I told them that I'm in the process of becoming a certified yoga instructor, he was like, I see that for you.
I do too.
He said that's
gonna be enough for it.
So now he calls me Yogi Bear.
Really? That is really,
that's
really dope.
That's my nickname, Yogi Bear.
Okay.
They call Charles Boosie.
Why they call him Boosie?
They said he looked like Boosie.
You don't let them damn Boosie Collins. They better not do that to them. And why am I thinking like Boosie Collins? I put it next to each other.
Yo. I mean, clearly Charles, my friend, looks a lot younger.
And better.
But
they call him Lil Boosie.
They call him Boosie.
But so we here on the first day. You got here yesterday, right after your camp. Like, how are you feeling like becoming an impact director? Like, it's a lot of changes that's happening for you right now. It's a lot. I'm serious. And I think all of us are going through changes, but I think that, you know, there's certain things that are personal, and then, you know, changes you're going through, and there's certain things that are just like reality. You know, everybody got personal changes they're going through, but it's also like professional. So, how are you feeling?
I've been trying to make sure with all of the changes that's happening right now, I've been trying to make sure that in whatever current space that I'm in, I'm as present as possible and taking what I can from my current space so that when I leave my current space, I can apply it to all the other
things
hats
that
I'm
doing.
doing.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I personally think you're gonna do well. Do you believe it?
I really do.
Okay, that's good.
I genuinely.
Yay. Okay. So we're here in Phoenix, and the reason why we came to Phoenix was really, again, a part of that ancestral land from a different place, just like how it was that ancestral land in Montgomery. And so Phoenix was a place for us to think about and reflect on in our bubble again, how we can really bring SEL forward. So now it's time to introduce SEL to our impact leaders.
Hello, Archie. I hate you. Oh, I know you do. I know you just good to be hated. It's good to be hated.
So I guess I'm just gonna walk around.
Welcome you guys to the 6th annual summer retreat. So yay, we did it. This is great. Yeah, welcome. You guys have received a couple of items already. You guys have your name badges. You have your Herschel passports, which is dope. So that's part of your first gift that you guys received was a Herschel passport. The first thing that the impact leaders do as soon as they come into the impact leader retreat is storytelling. They have to tell their story. So we put our impact leaders into the 4 different groups. So all of them have 4 different cohorts now that we call den groups. And within those den groups, they begin to start telling their story itself. The theme of this year's retreat in a year is Welcome to Wonder. I always introduce the theme of PG within the retreat. So we've been wondering with SEL, but now it's time to bring that in. So Welcome to Wonder, what I want them to do is to think about how we could reimagine the education community, how we could reimagine what it's like to be leaders.
I think that this platform altogether is beyond beneficial. Like Black men having a space where they can really be vulnerable, be themselves, and actually learn more is like so pivotal. I know a lot of people who don't have this space and who long for it.
PG has really been like my extended family, and it's just always so natural, always so genuine, and it's always a loving environment when you step into a room with other PG members and brothers. So I would definitely say like family would be a great word to describe what PG is to me.
Wow, that connection is everything. I think that connection and that synergy that happens when we link is it's electrifying, right? It's there's so much energy, there's so much love, and it really does help sustain you in this work to be around brothers that have, you know, been where you are, that have, you know, done things that can help you on your journey. It's just really empowering and encouraging. So being in these spaces just really gives me what I need to keep going.
This is the first time that the new impact leaders are in a space. So we had a new impact leader retreat where they're able to learn the basics. And so now they're able to bring the basics and the foundations of what they learned in a new impact leaders retreat into to Phoenix, where all of the impact leaders are coming together. It's so interesting because sometimes I forget who are the new impact leaders and who are our returners, because they were able to mesh in so well. But you know, they often will reach out to us on the side too, and begin to have conversations about, like, you know, I'm having a good time. Like, this is something I never experienced before in my life, and it's cool to see the new impact leaders have that experience.
I have not been with Pete. What is this? My second month, maybe? I think it is. What is it? July. I joined last month. So for me, it's really like a phenomenal turnaround, because from interviewing, you know, last month to being in Phoenix this month, it's like a very surreal turnaround, you know.
This will be my first time with PG. I have not been a gentleman before. Just got hired on as an impact leader. I'm excited to learn and grow with all these brothers and kind of do some, you know, make sure everybody knows what an impact I can make as well. I think officially it's been, a few months now. I found out about it just back in March and went through the interview process. So I would say, June, 1 month, month and a half maybe?
During Ubad's interview, it just came off natural to me. He just seemed just normal, like somebody that I've always known. And so I was able to truly connect with him in the interview process, and our interviewers. They were able to connect with him as well.
You know, being in a primarily black organization that's focusing on furthering people of color, it's really important for me to be in this space right now. Being one of a few non-black POC that's in this space as an impact leader, I get to make a bigger impact in some ways, because I can speak up for those that don't really have a voice in this space, and I get to bring a seat to the table instead of just being granted that seat. You know, so I kind of drag the seat up to the table to PG and let them know that, here, I got a voice, and I'm gonna make sure you guys know what I have to say.
Every element, every single element within our work, is related to SEL, and it's related to that theme. And so the games that we play, whether it even be karaoke, you know, we even joke and talk about, oh my God, we're wondering, continuing to wonder over and over and over again. But we have to love on one another. We have to show up and give that brotherly love. And I think that's the best thing I love about our space is the hugging. Is the one-on-one conversations we're having. It's sometimes not the sessions itself. It is the in-between the sessions when people are finally getting it and something clicks.
So the activity where we focused on aspects of our identity and really thought about who we are and how we show up in the world, it was really powerful to name some of those things. But the most powerful piece of it for me was having my brothers like affirm those aspects of my identity. And so when we stood in the circle and they just called it back, you know, and said, this is who you are, it was really powerful to hear that from others. So that was definitely a really dope moment for me.
You know, some of the SEL activities that we've done, that we were able to do in Phoenix, really allowed us to be able to, for our impact leaders to be able to show up from a different angle. Oftentimes, males of color are labeled names that we wouldn't identify ourselves as. And so part of one of the activities we had to do was really call us by our names, call us by what we would like to be called, and really recognize the multiple identities. Intersectionality is a huge piece with our gentlemen. We have people coming from multiple different angles of the world and multiple different backgrounds, and we want to highlight that. We don't want to take that away. But sometimes what we don't recognize neither is the connections that we do have to people. One of our new guys, Jason, really brought that home. It was a revelation for him, and he had an awakening moment that he shared with the group, and I thought that it was very important for everybody to hear. And it was cool for him to be a new IL and to dive right into the experience, and it really did shape the culture and what we were doing in that session.
One of the things that she always drove home for us as a team, you would have your warriors, but behind your warriors, the more important part of your tribal battle was the water carriers that would follow the warriors in the battle and have no weapons, have no type of way to defend themselves, and carry water so that the battle could sustain. And so she often had us think about ourselves as youth workers, as water carriers for the battle for our youth. But we're all warriors in different ways in our schools and in our lives, but we're also water carriers at the same time. And so one day you might be one day you might be the other. And so like standing in the water and like looking at all my brothers around the den was just like really just, I had that moment of, damn, I forgot I'm these two things at the same time.
After 9/11, I went through a period where I just hid my identity. I didn't want to be seen as Muslim or try to hide the fact that I was not from the States and born in some of the states that were kind of getting looked at in terms of like Islamophobia and stuff like that. So I think I hid that for a long time, and it took me a long time to figure out that I shouldn't be hiding that. I should be showing that is who I am. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And when I figured that out, it came out in full burst. So I let everybody know that is what it is. This is how you say my name. This is who I am. I am Muslim, right? And because of that, I've been granted the seat at a lot of tables, per se. I've been asked to speak at a lot of different events. I've been asked to share my story and share my voice, because I think I speak for a lot of those that don't really have a voice or have not been granted that voice yet.
All right, so today's activity, we were given cardboard boxes, we were given bubble wrap, we were given duct tape, and we were given scissors. So we were given about maybe 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes to kind of create a raft using only those materials.
So water doesn't get out? Yeah. Will that work? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
I am the best.
They're looking like they're on their way.
Maybe the box is gonna go on top to make sure that it's not flimsy.
Maybe it's a cardboard pontoon.
Pontoon. Making it pontoony will help to honestly make sure that they don't fall. That even when they get on it, it's gonna be level.
Yeah. The thing we're going with is almost like a Viking funeral. So we're thinking about making a whole layout, but then creating some buoyancy underneath with a fin, essentially that's gonna buoy his weight to kind of create it. So kind of Game of Thrones, but a little bit of Wakanda ingenuity. I'm just here to be a brain and hold the scissors.
So the challenge was you have to create a raft, and whichever team's raft was able to kind of stay afloat the longest wins. So we had to really become creative and like try to figure out what is this gonna look like, how are we gonna do that, and what roles are each of us gonna play to get this thing on top of the water and for it to stay there. I was selected as I got to drive the boat today. I got to drive the boat. I was the person who was selected to be on top of the raft, right? So that was very, 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 very nerve-wracking.
Y'all clear. 3. All right, time to start now. Y'all get out the way.
Our float stood on, it was in the water for 2 minutes, and after the 2-minute mark, Mario was like, all right, y'all gotta get out of here. Like, I honestly believe that our float would have stayed a little bit longer than 2 minutes. I was just out there having the time of my life, just swim.
thought that was an HVAC unit.
So they was over there doing a lot of laughing at our simple rap, but now my man is floating. They're doing a lot of this, and now they're doing a lot of.
We did it.
It's all right. It's all right. We're gonna make it come back.
You're like
he has to get a little interview right here. This was awesome. I felt very comfortable. Felt secure, right? One small leap for man, a large leap for mankind. This was awesome. This was awesome.
My first year joining PG on staff was very untraditional. I was not immediately a believer. It seemed too good to be true. You know, all of these male educators of color are embracing one another, are saying I love you without putting the bro or the man or the hypermasculinity at the end of I love you. That was my first experience of PG, and I just wanted to be a part of it so much. And I openly shared this, that I did not always have the closest relationship with my biological brothers. So if I had the opportunity to gain additional brothers that will love me and I love them just as much, then I'm all in.
This organization is needed, right? The work is phenomenal work, and it was something that I just personally believed in. But after seeing how the work got done and seeing how the individuals showed up, I was like, you know what, this is a very unique organization. It's a very unique environment, and there's a certain level of intentionality that has gone into the selection of the impact leaders, the selection of, you know, the leadership here. And you can tell that there's a purposeful approach to the work that's being done here. And I can appreciate that, you know. I can appreciate the variety of representation that exists, whether it's like how we show up as black men, how we show up as men in general, like there are different representations of masculinity, different representations of heterosexuality, different representations of homosexuality. And like it really just shatters the myth and stereotype that blackness exists as a monolith. You know, like there's different types of black men that are showing up in different ways, all identifying as men. And that's powerful. Like that's something that I couldn't not be a part of, you know.
Along with like this whole event, I just want to take a second and say, like, this whole event, the Welcome to Wonder thing, I didn't really know what that meant coming in, but I've been really wondering lately, and I've been really wondering about what it is that I want to do and how I want to do it. And I think it took like 2 or 3 days for me to figure out that I should be wondering about those kind of things. Before I was just wondering, you know, what theme am I going to do in my classroom, or how am I going to teach this lesson to my kids? But I'm really starting to think about that bigger picture of what it is that I'm going to do to make an impact and leave that impact for some of those other people that don't really get those voices. How am I going to make that impact for them? So I'm excited.
I think one of the greatest gifts of being a leader of an organization that oftentimes go overlooked is being able to see folks that you've worked with be able to transition into the leaders and own who they are as people. Now that Wayne and Courtney are directors, they are able to do this amazing work. I think about Courtney and how he says certain things that just seemed like he just touched by God and the ancestors and stuff. It seemed like when we left the legacy, these in a memorial, the ancestors left with him. The way that he's able to capture a group and the way that he's able to capture the moment in the culture, and honestly, the spiritual energy at the IO retreat during that time and even moving forward was inspirational. It was enlightening, and it was what wonder is about. And so I think that we all were able to leave Phoenix wondering through that group meditation for us to be able, like we were all wondering, we were all able to continue to wonder, but we sealed the deal with that group meditation. One, it let us know that we're not alone. That was the biggest thing. Two, it let us know that if we do falter and if we do feel like that you know something is not right, we're able to lean onto our brothers for that. You know, somebody literally has our back. Yeah, I'm excited about SEL. I'm excited about the leaders that come out of this work. I'm excited about how we're going to be able to change and continue to impact the landscape of education by simply allowing first us and giving ourselves permission to be ourselves, and then now providing a space for males of color to be who they are, their authentic self. That's my hope. That's what I wonder. And I think we're living the experience. We're moving it forward.
Roll, black boy joy. She wanna see the Forbes like I wanna see her form. Tell me what you for, yeah. Ayy, you pay me what I'm owed, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, all this money on me. Whoa, yeah, yeah, cash rules all around me. Whoa, yeah, yeah, all this money around me. Whoa, yeah, yeah, cash rules all around me. Hey, yeah.